Weekly, GarageBand, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly. Need an answer to your question. John, you'll have a suggestion. He's a fountain of all knowledge. I think he might have gone to GarageBand College. What he doesn't know, we'll try and find out. So join the chat and give him a shout. Here's John. Here's John. GarageBand Weekly.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly, episode 207. If you can believe it, on this week's show, we'll be doing a GarageBand iOS instrument tier list. What's a tier list all about, and what's that going to be? Well, it's just a bit of fun. It's just to create some conversation and maybe a little bit of controversy, and tell you, after nearly 8 years of experience, what my favourite and least favourite sounds to use in GarageBand are, and you can see if you agree or disagree or are somewhere in between. Got some news and notes as well, and we will say g'day to folks who are here live. We'll also answer any of your questions. If you're here live and you have a question, all you need to do is put a big chunky Q in front of your question, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that come in throughout the show. And we are brought to you this week, as we are each and every week, by my GarageBand iOS FAQ. If you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, it's just been revamped. So we've got the 5-minute tips series, which is new for 2024, as you can see there, as well as a bunch of other resources for your garage banding needs. But if you haven't been keeping up with the 5-minute tips, it's a custom playlist of just 5-minute or less tips. We've been focusing on drums throughout January, and then we're going to move on to keys and guitars and mixing and mastering and all the goodness that is GarageBand iOS over the coming months. Why? Because you asked for it. Yeah, you said that my older tutorials are okay, but they're a bit long, and it would be great if they could be refreshed and just shaped a little bit and made even more simple than before. So if you would like to check those out, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you get access to all of that goodness. Hello to the folks we have here. G'day Skeeter Melody. G'day to Guzzo of Oz. Hello to Thomas Christ. Thank you for being here. Once again, if you've got questions, do throw your questions right here in the chat. More than happy to try and answer anything that pops up. But we are on a pretty tight time frame. These shows are 30 minutes now. We're making them the Express edition, so we won't be gabbing on too much. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about here in the news and notes, and that is that Apple have announced or released or made available for pre-order, I guess is the correct words, the Vision Pro headset. Yeah, you can pre-order the Apple Vision Pro, assuming you have there's two criteria you need. You need to be living in the United States of America, and you need to have at least $3,500 burning a hole in your pocket right now. And then you can come in here and pre-order the Apple Vision Pro. Now, does this have anything to do with GarageBand? Not really. There was someone who emailed me through the week, and thank you. I've forgotten who you were, but thank you. You can tell me in the comments and say, it was me, Johns, that told me that Logic Pro is going to be on this thing. That could be interesting. So maybe I do have hope. I can reach out to Apple and ask for a review unit and say, hey, I want to try Logic Pro on the Vision Pro. Yeah, check in the couch cushions to see if you have a little bit of coin there to be able to throw at this one. So the news out of this is that we weren't sure last time on last week's show whether there would be different storage options and different sort of ways you could fit this out. There are, not surprisingly, there's the 256 base model for $3,499. You can upgrade for $3,699 to the 512 gigabyte model, or you can go to the 1 terabyte for $3,899. And look, you're plonking down $3,500. Why wouldn't you go $4,000 and get the terabyte? Hey, because of course you would. So yeah, you can buy it. You can buy it outright or finance yourself at convenient monthly $300 monthly payments there as well. So yes, that is available to pre-order now, and you do have to go through. I can't even show you the actual details there because you've got to do the get started. You've got to get your phone. You've got to measure your head. It's a whole thing. So if you're into it, do it. But if, like me, you're going to be sitting back and watching this from the sidelines and seeing what happens, that's probably your cheaper option. Let the guinea pigs guinea pig this one. That would be my recommendations there. Should we dive into the feature topic? I'll just bring up my notes here to make sure I actually have these, and I do. So, GarageBand instruments and a tier list. First of all, what is a tier list? Well, it's where we break down, we give a letter grade to all of the different sounds that we use in GarageBand. And again, I've been using GarageBand more than 7 years, so I've got a lot of experience with using all the plethora of sounds and instruments here in GarageBand. So we will be breaking those down, everything from an F right up through to an A. So why don't we get started with the F tier? And here's the thing. I'm a GarageBand fanboy, so do you know how many instruments I've put in the F tier? 0, because I think that all of these instruments and all of these sounds here in GarageBand deserve a little bit of love. I think there's nothing in here that I would say is a failure. You may disagree. In fact, I'd love for you to tell me, are there any instruments in here that you would put in the F tier that you just, every time you touch them, or you never touch them because they just make you feel ill every time you even think about them? So F tier, I'm going nothing. So we're now going to jump up to the D tier, and I'm very sorry to do this. It's on the screen right now. It's the guitar. The virtual guitar here in GarageBand has not changed since GarageBand version 2.0, which came out more than 5 years ago. And it's fine. Look, it's D tier. It's fine. It's fine. But it's sounded like this, and it's had these functions for a very long time. They've added one thing, which is the retro wah in recent times. So you can at least play with a bit of a wah, but it's kind of clunky to actually use the wah. You do have some autoplay in here, which kind of works okay and sounds okay. So that can be kind of usable. And what I find the guitar is useful for is just getting some ideas down. So in particular, if I'm here in the chords mode, I can actually just sort of play around with some. And it just gives me an idea of what I might actually want to bring over into a track. But as far as actually using it in an end project, no. So again, even the D tier instruments can be used, and I'll use this very sparingly, but usually just as something to start a song or to get an idea down. And where it's really handy is when you're out and about on your iPhone and you want something to grab a bit of an idea down. So that's your guitar. I'm not going to even record anything in with that for the demo here. Number 2 in the F tier, and I covered these in a 5-minute tip last week. It's under the drums, and there's a bunch of different ways to add drums, and unfortunately the smart drums are just really long in the tooth. So smart drums, if you haven't used them, we've got 6 different drum kits here. You've got 3 electronic and 3 regular kits. We can just hit the play button here, and it's actually a really great concept. You can get a really easy way to get a drum beat going on, right? And then you can record it in, and you're thinking, yeah, pretty cool, yeah? But here's the problem. Once it's in there, you'd think, oh, great, MIDI. I can edit MIDI. Well, guess what? In smart drums, you can't. You can't edit the MIDI. You can't change anything once it's already in there. So if you want to tweak something, you've got to delete it and start again. So apart from this nice little neon effect that they've got going on here, there's been nothing added to the smart drums in forever. So that's why they land, sadly, in the D tier here in GarageBand iOS. That's all for D. Let's jump up to the C tier, shall we? And starting off the C tier is the bass. Now the bass, again, it's almost made it up to the B tier, but it's down here in the D tier because the C tier, because it just, again, it hasn't been changed in a really long time. Now if you're going to use the bass, I actually love the P-bass sound is actually a pretty darn good P-bass sound. So if you just want to, again, get some bass ideas in, and you can either use the chords or... I actually like playing the instrument, and even though it's a C-tier instrument for its usability, it's actually fun to play around with. So I kind of like just working out some bass pattern ideas by just grabbing the bass here. So it could actually be a fun instrument and have a decent sound. The one thing that is probably the highlight of the bass here, and it's kind of hidden over to the side here, is the upright bass. The upright bass actually sounds pretty good, and I've legitimately used this in a few tracks. Oop, we don't want to record, we want to play. So if you're doing something a bit laid back, a bit jazzy, the upright bass can actually help you out there. So the bass is in the C tier. What else do we have in the C tier? Well as the smart drums, the regular drums. I don't know about you, but when I come in here and try to play, that's the smart drums, we don't want to do that. When I come in here and I try and play the regular drums, the acoustic drums, or you can choose one of the electronic drum kits or the percussion kits, I just find that the touchscreen in particular doesn't really. I can never get a good sounding drum. Like, it seems that I either hit it too hard or too soft and I can't get consistency. So there are things you can do with this. Whenever I use the real drums, I always go to track settings and come in here to velocity sensitivity, either turn this to low or to off so that I can actually get a decent kind of drum sound. So it can be, again, it's fun, but in terms of usability, there's better options here. So if we wanted to go, that was a very weird drum beat. But yeah, so you can actually play in your drums. And what it's good for is actually putting some drums in there that we can then, in fact, let's just undo that. I'm just going to put in a more regular drum beat because I'm going to show you something with another instrument later. We'll just put a little drum beat in there that's going to work for this track and drop that there, loop it out. And we'll loop out this while we're at it. We'll create a little bit of a ditty while we do this, while we talk about our instruments here. So the drums, yeah, they're okay, but they're not gonna blow your mind. Also, while we're in the C tier, I hate to do this because these are probably the most fun instruments to play. And when they were added, the world instruments, I really enjoyed these. And I'm covering them again soon here in the 5-minute tips. But you've got things like the peeper. Turn those up a little bit so you can play. And again, you've got chords modes in these ones, which makes them a little more usable because we can actually auto play something here. Which can be kind of fun. So you've got a bunch of different world instruments here too. So you've got the peeper, you've got the erhu, which is called the Chinese violin, which is something that a lot of folks use as a sort of violin substitute because we'll talk about it, but there's not great violin sounds here. We've got the koto, which is great for like doing flashback scenes, but not much else. If you were doing like some bring, and then Rip Van Winkle woke up. And then the guzhang, which is, again, kind of the same thing. And look, am I biased because I don't create a lot of world music? And that's why I put these down in the C tier? Probably, because I just don't use them that much. I just don't find a heap of use for any of these instruments. So yeah, if you love the world instruments, again, go for it. Use them, enjoy them, love them. You do you, and I guess that's the key of this is 100% opinion based. This was just me for a bit of fun thinking, I wonder if I could rank all the instruments and my favorites and my least favorites. Should we get into the B tier? This is where we're going to start talking about instruments that I really love, that I really dig, and that is the wind instruments. Now, you might be saying, Johns, I don't see wind instruments anywhere in here. Well, yeah, they're kind of hidden. They're a secret source of GarageBand iOS. Where we find them here is under keyboard into more sounds, and if we scroll down here to our other, check it out. Flutes, clarinets, oboes, bassoons, and even some French horn and brass ensemble. These sound great. I've used the oboe. If you've heard my song Drinking With You, that uses the oboe and the clarinet. The oboe sounds great. The clarinet is actually punching above its weight for a digital instrument. And if you want to add a little bit of bass that's a little more subtle than using an actual bass instrument, using the bassoon can actually be cool. So let's come in here and add a little bassoon part. Why don't we play it in the same key as the original bass we played there? There you go. Play a little bassoon part in there, so that's cool. By the way, I'll pause here to say, I categorize these into 15 basic categories. I know you could go nuts and you could go each individual one, but I wanted to keep it relatively simple. And obviously, we're not doing external instruments. So your answer to all of this might be, I use 0 GarageBand instruments. I use everything external. But I just wanted to, for those that maybe you've never explored some of these instruments, thought we would show a couple of them here for you. In the B tier as well, the sampler. So the sampler just snuck into the B tier because it can actually be quite useful. Now, you've probably jumped into the sampler, hit the barking dog, and then gone, now what do I do? Well, you can actually sample in something. So if you hit the record button, so if we come to our input here, and we just grab my microphone input, you can actually sample in your own sound. If we turn the monitoring on, hello, hello. All right, let's sample something. Ooh. Hit the record button helps. Burp. I don't know what that noise was. Burp, 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 burp. So yeah, you can use your own sound, and don't forget you can also import. So a lot of folks forget that you can actually import your own sounds into the sampler from your files, or you can import any Apple loops and split them, cut them, chop them, do your own thing with them. But it can be kind of fun just to put in a sample here, and I don't know quite how it's going to work with this track, but let's just see. Maybe not. And yeah, look, there's a lot that you can do with the sampler. Check out my my video on this one because you can do things. You can actually tune it to make sure that you're in the right scale and the right note, especially if you're doing a sample that might be something more melodic. Because sometimes it doesn't quite work the way you want it to. We'll mute that one out. So the sampler, kind of fun. Also in the B tier, and something that that I use and you probably use if you're a guitar player, if you're a vocalist, you're using this all the time, and it's your audio recorder. And the cool thing, one of the reasons I love GarageBand over and above other digital audio workstations is the simplicity of the grab and go with GarageBand, such as when you're coming in here and you want an audio recorder track, you hit the voice and you've got a decent sounding lead vocals. If we turn this on and we go to channel 2, where I've plugged in here, check, 1, 2. We've got a decent sounding straight off the bat. Or if you want a bit more of a, radio ready with a little bit of pitch control, or some punchy presence, if you want something that's got a bit more compression, you can either go for like some chorus effect in here. Let's go with the chorus effect. So what I'm saying is all these presets are actually great. And it's not only for vocals. You've got acoustic guitar, you got keyboards, you got some fun sounds there, like your robots and whatnot. But yeah, it just starts you off. And I think especially for folks starting out with GarageBand, it means you don't have to spend a lot of time dialing in a lot of settings. You can just go for it. So in fact, let's record something here, shall we? I never thought I'd sing a song like this. I usually say, hey girl, 5 times or 6. So you can see there that we've recorded in, and the quality you get straight off the bat, I never thought I'd sing a song like this. And obviously that's putting the chorus on there, but if you just wanted the straight lead vocal sound, you get something like this. I never thought I'd sing a song like this. And it can work really well. So it's just a simple way, as opposed to other DAWs where, you dial it in as clean and then you've got to have your own compression settings and just having all these right here. And you do have the option to come in here, go to your plugins and EQ and really hone it in, dial it in, add in your own plugins, add in your own EQ, add in external plugins. So it's not that you can't do the complicated stuff, but the fact that I can plug in my acoustic, press the big acoustic guitar button, and it gives me a decent acoustic guitar recording without any effort, I think makes the audio recorder slot nicely into the B tier. Also in the B tier, we have the strings. Probably something that people play around with the most because they are probably, in my humble opinion, one of the most fun instruments to play with, because who doesn't love flicking their finger up and down? If you're not sure what I'm doing there, you tap and hold and go up and down, and you get cool sounds. Now you can change it. You can have either just the the low down, the cellos and the basses, which is great for sort of atmospheric stuff, or you can use just things like your violin. And you could go to notes mode as well and play it like a real violin. The Simpsons, including doing cool things like tapping down here on the bridge. For some pizzicato, you've also got the ability to do autoplay, which everyone's probably heard a lot of these autoplays, but yeah. In fact, let's just record in a little bit of string. See if this works with this track. I never thought I'd sing a song like this. Let's try a different autoplay for this. I usually say, hey girl, 5 times or 6. Okay, didn't really work for that second part. But yeah, you can see here that the strings are fun, bloody fun to play with. And you can do a lot of cool things with them. While I'm talking strings, what everyone always says to me when we're playing with the strings is, yeah, Johns, but the best strings are actually down here, and they're your Hollywood strings. And I can never remember where they are. If someone's got the remembrance, I always have to go in here and spend ages trying to find exactly where these are. But yeah, there's some strings called the Hollywood strings that you can play down here. And while we're down here, I want to show you another little tip here. And this is a great for, you know how we talked about the flute and the clarinet and the oboe before? If you want to play your world instruments, you can even use them here. So say you want to use the erhu for a bit of like a violin sound. We can actually play it using the keyboard, which is a heck of a lot easier than using the interface there. So let's I never thought I'd sing a song like this. And of course, you can then edit, which is a good thing about MIDI instruments. If you mess up, if you make a goof like I did there and hit a whole bunch of weird notes, you can just come in here and delete them and pretend that your performance was perfect the first time, which of course mine always is. All right, let's come back out of there. Where are we at here? So that is our B tier: wind instrument, sampler, audio recorder, and string. Should we dive into the A tier? Yeah, because we're a little behind on time here. So I'm going to have to move a little faster here. In the A tier, I start with the beat sequencer. I love the beat sequencer. It's a great way to make drums. I've done a video on it recently. Check the channel to see my 5-minute guide to the beat sequencer. Why is the beat sequencer so good? Well, you can choose all the kits. Unlike your smart drums, you can choose from any kit you like the scientific method there, or even percussion. So let's get some pots and pans in here. And you've got complete control over all of the steps. It's a step sequence. I never thought I'd sing a song like this. So it's very, very cool. Beat sequencer, you can randomize it, you can change it, you can do a whole bunch of things. Heap of options in there again. Watch the quick video if you want to learn more about it. Also in the A tier is our Apple loops. Don't underestimate the power of Apple loops. You have literally almost 10,000 of them in here now. I think it's something like 6,000 at last count of Apple loops if you get all of the packs. And you can see, you can scroll through all of these and there's everything. There's MIDI loops, there's audio loops, there's drummer loops, there's percussion, there's bass, there's everything you can possibly think of. And you can search in the loops here to find something cool. So if we wanted to say, grab something here that's going to be a hi-hat, we can just search for not hi-hit, but hi-hat, and we could find like an 80s power hi-hat from the Oak Felder pack. This will work with our track. We just drag it in and you're done. So you can just easily bring in a bunch of cool sounds to put into your own tracks. The amp sims, I'm going to have to be very quick with this, but the amp sims, if you are a guitar player, do not underestimate the power that is the amp sims here in GarageBand. So you've got clean, distorted, and bass tones. I like a lot of them. When I'm making a new song, if I want to do something with some distortion in it, I usually just jump down here, throw on the power chord, because of course I do, because I'm a rock guy, and dial in, and then we're good to go. So you don't have a pick handy. So let's just find the key and record in a little bit over the top of this track. Go to the start, hit record. I never thought I'd sing a song What have I done wrong there? I've got my my guitar turned up way too loud, but we don't have time to fix it. So we're going to go with it. But as well as your, your distorted tones, you've got crunchy tones here. You've got some cool processed tones like the Palace of Mirrors from the Tone Collection. So you've got that actually sounds epic. Let's bring that back in. I usually say, hey girl, 5 times or 6. So yeah, don't underestimate the power of the amp sims here. And also in the B tier, I'm going to include Alchemy Synth. And people might think, you're crazy, Johns. Alchemy Synth should definitely be in the S tier, but I actually don't use it a heap because I'm not a synth guy. But there are so many sounds here in the Alchemy Synth that you can play around with. So if you're in your keys, you'll notice you got keyboards, you got synths, you got all the other stuff. Alchemy Synth just has so many different sounds in here, especially for pads. It's amazing. And the cool thing is you can dial into your heart's content. So you can have a very basic sound. And you can use the XY pad here to adjust it, or you've got a whole bunch of things that you can actually change in here. And every one is different, and you can record in effects as you go through, and you've got pitch bends and modulation. And you could literally, I've done whole songs where I've just sat down and put 10 tracks on and chosen 10 different Alchemy synth sounds and found something really cool in each of these categories. So there's a bunch of cool stuff you can play with in the Alchemy synth, which brings us to our final two. What is the S tier? What is the must-have go-to instruments that I use in absolutely every track? Well, it might be a bit boring with this one, but guess what? It's the piano. It's the keys, the key sounds that we have in here. And again, if we go back to our main categories and go to keyboards, and we go in here to our classical grand. Now, you might think, Johns, you said that the problem with the guitars is that they haven't been changed since the very start of GarageBand. The good thing about the classical grand is that this was a Steinway grand piano that they first sampled in like GarageBand Mac version 1, and today it still sounds amazing and it works really well. You've also got some great, you've got a whirly in here, you've got a classic organ, including everything such as the drawbars that you can play around with in here. The keyboard instruments here in GarageBand are legitimately next level and really fun to use. And the final, the ultimate, it's our drummer. Yeah, it's the drummer. So if you are creating a song, here's the thing that I recommend you do. Before you start anything, what I do before I start anything in GarageBand is I find my rhythm with my drummer. So you can use acoustic, percussion, or electronic again. I'm going to use acoustic here. There's our good old buddy Kyle. Look, everyone's heard the default Kyle, haven't they? But the cool thing here is that you can adjust this. You can make it louder, you can make it softer, you can make it complex, you can make it simpler. You can turn on to the drums, the toms, the cymbals, the hi-hats. You can add percussion here. You've got sliders to just quickly change things. You control the amount of fills and my favorite feature, which is the follow feature. So remember how I made that my own drum beat before using the Sunset drums here? Well, I can make the drummer actually follow that. So even though I didn't really like this beat, that's dialed in the beat. So that's what you could do. You could dial in a beat like that and then tell the drummer to play a better version of it. And then turn off your original drummer. And then you've got a drummer that's going to work with your track. I usually say, hey girl, 5 times or 6. There you go. That is the tier list here in GarageBand iOS. Everything from D to S. And yeah, let me know if you are watching this one. Let me know down in the comments below. What are your favorites? Was I right? Was I wrong? What did I do well? What do you completely disagree with? Do you think that drummer's crap and that you program in, you hand code in your own drums every single time? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be kind to yourself, folks. Be kind to others. And I'll see you next time here on GarageBand Weekly.